I am 87 years old, and this spring I sat down and counted 8 sentences I had used, over 60 years, to move my own life to a later date. Not 8 mistakes, 8 sentences, ordinary ones. The kind a decent man says at a kitchen table without anyone at that table thinking he has just spent a year of himself. I wrote all 8 on the back of a seed envelope, and when the list was finished, I was not ashamed of it, and I was not proud of it. I felt honest, maybe for the first time in years. Because a man can be careful his whole life and never once notice that careful and later had become the same word in his mouth. Come sit closer to the fire, because I do not want to say this next part across a room. I am not telling you that planning is a sin. I am not telling you that a man who saves is a fool, or that the work you postponed something for did not need doing. What I am saying is narrower. A thing put off is not always a thing lost, but some of them are paid for in a coin a man cannot go out and earn more of, and for 60 years I could not tell which was which until the bill came. My grandmother said, "Later is not a time. It is a place people put things they do not want to lift." She said it to me in a root cellar, of all places. I was maybe 11, and I had left a basket of apples on the steps instead of carrying it down, because I meant to fetch it later. 2 days after that, she took me by the wrist and walked me to that basket and made me look at the soft brown spots spreading through the bottom layer. She did not scold me. She said the apples had not waited. Nothing waits. It only keeps changing while you are deciding. My grandfather set the other half of it beside her words, that same winter. He said a man does not run out of time. He runs out of the days he kept promising it to. Her sentence and his sentence hold up every word that comes after this one. The first confession is the sentence, when the fence is finished. My father asked me twice, 2 Octobers running, to ride the West Rim with him before the cold set in. Both times I told him when the fence was finished. That fence line ran the north boundary, and I built it a post at a time in the hours I could spare for 3 years. A fence has no end, the way a creek has no end. It only has a next post, and then another. The 3rd October he did not ask. His knees had gone by then, and a man does not ask for a thing he can no longer take. I finished the fence the following June. It was a good fence. It is still standing, and I have not once in 40 years been glad about it. What I do now is small. I stop at the hour, not at the finish. When the light goes flat over the east field, I set the tool down where it lies, and whatever is left of the job can be left. Before the second confession, let me set one thing down beside your chair. The native way holds 20 teachings for this stretch of the road, gathered the way I have gathered them here, and the link is in the description if you want it. No pressure at all. Your seat by this fire was never something anybody had to earn, and I will be sitting right here either way, opened or unopened. Now, the second confession, and this one my wife could have told you about long before I was willing to. For 12 years, my wife and I kept a coffee can on the top shelf with folded bills in it, and the word on the lid, written in pencil, was ocean. She had never seen one. Neither had I. Every year something reasonable came for that can. A roof after the hail, a transmission, a bred heifer that was too good to pass up, and every year I said the same sentence to her, the same way, as if it were a kindness. When we are a little ahead, we were never a little ahead. Being ahead is not a place at all. It is a line drawn on water, and it moves when the man moves. She saw the ocean at 68. We drove 2 days. She sat on a bench above the sand for about 40 minutes, and then wanted to go back to the room because she was tired in the way a person is tired when the thing has come very late. My grandmother would have said, "You cannot save a season in a jar." If I had it again, I would have gone in a bad year, in a borrowed truck, in the wrong month, with the roof still leaking. The third confession is the sentence, when things settle down. I said that to Nelson for 11 years. He lived 4 hours east, and every time he asked me to come out and fish that reservoir with him, I told him we would do it when things settled down. Calving. Then the drought, then my wife's hip, then the year the barn roof went. Things do not settle down. Still water is not a place a river arrives at. A river is never finished moving. A man just learns to stand in it and fish anyway. Nelson died on a Thursday in February, and I drove 4 hours east for the first time in 11 years, and I did it in one day without a single thing settling anywhere. That is what shamed me. Not that I could not go, that I could have gone the entire time, at the same cost, in the same unsettled world, and had simply been waiting for a permission that was never going to arrive. Now, when a man asks me for a day, I give him a date before I hang up the phone. Not a season. A date, with a number on it. The fourth confession is the sentence, "I will remember this." My grandmother told me about the winter the creek froze to the bottom, and what the old ones did that year, and how they fed people. She told it once, straight through, at her table, and it took the better part of an evening. I was 31. I remember thinking, clear as a bell, that I would remember this. I have 3 sentences of it left. 3. I could write them on the back of my hand. Memory is a bucket with a seam in it. You can carry water in it, and it will hold most of the way to the house, and the whole time you are walking you can watch the line dropping and think it is holding fine. Now I keep a pencil in the drawer nearest the door. When somebody old tells me something, I write 4 lines that same night before I take my boots off. They are poor lines. A poor sentence that got written beats a beautiful one that did not. The 5th confession is the sentence, "Next spring." I meant to put in apple trees for better than 20 years. I had the ground picked out, south of the house, where the frost slides off. Every winter I would say it at the table. Next spring. And every spring there was a calf pulled wrong, or a hired man who quit, or a stretch of weather, and the whips stayed in the catalog. I planted them at 79 because a woman at the feed counter said the plain thing to me. You are not going to be younger in the spring. Last September I ate the first real fruit off the 3rd tree. I am 87. That arithmetic is not lost on me. My grandfather said a man who plants late still plants. The tree does not ask who the shade is for. So now, when a thing occurs to me, I try to put it in the ground the same week it occurs to me. Not the same year. The same week. The idea and the hole in the dirt should be close enough together to still be the same thought. The 6th confession is the sentence, "When I feel more like myself." The winter after my wife died, I turned down 4 invitations, one after another, and I gave the same answer every time. I would come when I felt more like myself. I believed it. I was not lying to anybody, including me. The 5th was a birthday supper for a woman down the road who had carried food to my door in November without being asked. I said the sentence again. She was buried before the thaw. A man will stand at his window waiting for the wind to lie down before he takes his walk. The wind does not owe him that. You can walk in wind. You lean and you go anyway, and you get where you are going with your hat in your hand. I go now in whatever shape I am in. I go tired. I go poor company. I go with nothing to say. Nobody at that table needed a better version of me. They needed the chair filled. The 7th confession is the sentence, "There is time to say it." Arthur worked beside me for 31 years. He was the best hand I ever had, and he was better at the work than I was by the end, and I never once told him so with my mouth. I gave him raises. I gave him the good horse. I told myself the man surely knew. I said it out loud for the first time at his funeral, into a microphone, to a room of people who were not him. A letter you keep folded in a coat pocket is not a letter. It is paper. It becomes a letter the moment somebody else's hands are on it. My grandmother said a kind word held back does not keep like preserves. It sours in the jar. So I say the thing now on the day I think it badly in the doorway, out of nowhere, while a man is loading his truck. It embarrasses people. I have decided that a little embarrassment between two living men is the cheapest thing I will ever buy. The eighth confession is the one I am least proud of, and it is the sentence I said most often and almost always to myself. When I am ready, I had a picture of the man I intended to be. He was patient. He did not go quiet at the table when the day had gone badly. He got down on the floor with his own children instead of reading the market page over their heads. I knew him well. I had him drawn in full, and I kept him scheduled, after the mortgage, after the lease came through, after the hard stretch. I honestly believed I would arrive at him, the way you arrive at a town. So my family got the rough copy, 40 years of the rough copy, with a promise attached to it that the fair copy was coming. A man is not a house you finish and then move into. You live in it while you are building it, and whatever it is on a Tuesday is what your people get on that Tuesday, ready or not. Nobody was ever coming. There was only me, unfinished, every single evening, and I could have spent him. That is the one that keeps me up, not the ocean, not the trees. Naming these 8 was not the same as hating myself for them. For a while after I wrote that seed envelope, I went around calling myself a coward about my own life. That word felt like honesty. It was not. A word like that is a verdict, and a verdict asks a man to lie down and accept the sentence. A habit only asks to be noticed. I said when the fence is finished. I said when we are a little ahead. I said when things settle down. I said I will remember this, and next spring, and when I feel more like myself, and there is time to say it, and under all of them, when I am ready. Those are 8 things a man said. They are not 8 bones he was built out of. I can stop saying a sentence on a Wednesday and still have said it on the Tuesday, and both of those are true at the same time, and neither one cancels the other. And I will not stand here and promise you that going sooner always works out. Sometimes you go and it rains the whole week. Sometimes the money really is not there, and the trip really cannot happen, and no amount of resolve invents it. Nothing in me got braver. What moved was the size of the thing I was willing to let count as going. Let me gather this up for you now, the way my grandmother gathered the ends of her shawl. When the fence is finished, when we are a little ahead, when things settle down. I will remember this. Next spring, when I feel more like myself, there is time to say it. And when I am ready, 8 sentences, and not one of them a lie, and every one of them a bill. Now let me turn them toward your own life, because I am not the only man who ever said them. What are you finishing first, and who is waiting behind it? What is written in pencil on the lid of your can? Who have you been telling for years now that you will drive out when things settle? Whose story are you certain you will remember? What is still sitting in the catalog? Which table have you not sat down at because you were not up to being looked at? Who have you never told, plainly, with your mouth? And what would you be doing this evening if the finished version of you was never going to show up? Perhaps what has risen in you while I talked is the question, is it too late for me? I will not hand you a result. I do not know whether the one you would go to is still above ground, or would answer a knock, or would want what you have been carrying all this while. That is not mine to give away, and I will not pretend otherwise. What the years do not take is a small thing, and it is enough. You can still catch a sentence on its way out of your own mouth, and on the same day you catch it, you can still make one plain, ordinary choice, a date given, a line written, a name said out loud to the man himself. Catching and choosing. Those 2 stay to the end. Of these 8, tell me which number is sitting in your chest right now. The number by itself is plenty, down in the comments. I go through them late, after the lamps are out, and I take my time about it. Come back tomorrow and take this same chair. An old man who has started admitting things out loud does not generally stop at 8. Until then, do the small one today, not the whole thing. The small one today.